Hello everybody, I'm Terry Windsor and welcome to Info to Know. Today is Thursday, October 27th, 2022, and it's about 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Hope everybody's having a good week. We got one more day to the weekend. Yes! Now, before I get started on my video, I do want to let everybody know that I am very new to making videos. This is the third one I'm making. I haven't posted the other two because I am technology challenged. Not a little bit, lots. The editing and some of the other things are kicking my butt, but I'm hoping that I can get this one up today, the latest, uh, later this evening. Anyways, I have been watching a swarm for the past couple weeks in Southern California, and I haven't really heard anybody talk about it. So let us go to Southern California and I'll show you what I'm talking about because it is important. I put my granny glasses on here. Best $1.25 I ever spent. So, without further ado, here we are. All right, we are on the San Jacinto Fault. Now, the San Jacinto Fault actually has an earthquake fairly regular. It's gone off about 10 times since the 1900s at very short intervals. There's a couple of times it went off in 5 years, 6 years, 1 year. And then the longest it's ever gone is 18 years, and now it's been 35 years. But this section here is called the Anza Gap, and it starts in Lake Hemet and goes down to Borrego Springs. This area is called the Anza Gap because it hasn't had a earthquake of a large magnitude in over 200 years. So it's locked. Locked means that it's already got way more tension than it should have, and all it needs is that one little 3.0 to kick it off. They originally thought that this fault could not do anything more than a 7.0, 7.1 at best. Well, their new evidence shows that the San Jacinto can have a 7.5 earthquake. Now, something else that I want to mention before I explain this here is that the San Andreas, of course, is right here, and they meet together within a mile and a half of each other at one point. But even without that, the scientists have found that earthquakes can jump 31 miles. Now that's bad for Southern California, especially because you have many, many faults that are within 30 miles of the dreaded San Andreas fault, which can have an earthquake of 8.0 or more. And these two faults have joined together by way of a little tiny fault called the Little Creek Fault, which is up here. It's very hard to find, right up here somewhere. And it runs parallel with the San Andreas and the San Jacinto. And they have found that those two faults have merged and had a major earthquake 3 times within the last 2,000 years. And because they can jump faults that far, this is definitely not out of the realm of possibilities that if this one were to have a large quake, that it could jump over to the San Andreas, because they meet at about 25 miles between them. And if they can go 31, certainly not out of the realm of possibilities. And again, there are parts of these two faults that get even closer. Like I said, a mile and a half at one area. So something to think about. Now, what they have found in this area is that it's slow slipping. It's having what they call tectonic tremors way deep in the fault, exactly like what's going on in the Cascadia subduction zone, where these teeny weeny little quakes are happening that nobody feels. And they're deep in the fault. They're running anywhere between 8 and 15 miles deep in the fault. Now, they are releasing pressure down in the fault deep there, but what that's doing is it's pushing the stress up to the top of the fault, the surface of the fault, which is obviously bad. Now, many times these large quakes that happen during a slow slip event, which we are having right now. I went through and scrolled through the 6 weeks. I did this actually before today, but even early on, these here are depths that are in the deep part of the fault, and the majority of those earthquakes that are occurring in this area here are deep in the fault. So there is definitely a slow slip going on. Originally, they thought that you could only get a slow slip in this part of the Enza Gap, but then now they're finding that they're occurring here as well along the whole thing. So you guys really need to be ready for that because again, over here we have the Elsinore fault, which is this is 21, 22 miles from this fault. So this can jump either here or there. And given the fact that it hasn't had an earthquake in over 200 years, we don't know how many of these episodes it has had so far. The scientists don't know, and they also tell you that they don't know a lot about slow slips, period. They're still trying to understand this, and it takes special equipment for them to have found this at all. So just something to keep in mind. I just want to go over here to show you a couple of articles. When I put information together, now a lot of this I've had in my information book for a couple of years because I've been working with and researching earthquakes and volcanoes for the past couple of years. Um, and I have learned quite a bit. I've got over 300 articles just about California. And what I do is I take from those articles and science papers that I can find, and I put it all together and I put in notes of what I think are important and what they all are pretty much saying. I don't go just by one source or a newspaper article. That's usually where I start. Or I just happen to notice something when I'm looking at the earthquakes, that there's a pattern forming. And that's how I've looked upon this. I was like, this has been going on for a while now, and I dated it back a little bit. And sure enough, every single day it's been going on. And this is patch.com, and did I pass the title up? I'm sorry. Told you I'm still learning. There we go. I talk to myself a lot, so you'll have to get used to that. I don't always like the answers I give, but As a gap, ripe to produce a damaging earthquake. That is not something we want to hear, but that's what they say. And further down in this article, experts suspect that this area is ripe to produce a damaging earthquake of 5.5 or higher. And as they say, while relatively little is known about tectonic tremors, in part because they've historically been difficult to detect, we know that these tremors are being caused by slow slip deep in the fault, and that when the deep part of the fault slips, it adds stress to the shallow part, which I just explained, and ultimately to help cause a damaging earthquake. We don't want to hear that, but it's the fact. And this is where the title of this one here, you'll never see it if I don't put it there, will I? Will you? Evidence for shared earthquakes between the San Andreas and San Jacinto faults. 3 times in the last 2,000 years, what they can find. And this is the times that the San Jacinto has gone off since the 1900s. Now, the earthquake that happened in, I want to say 1812, they thought that started on the San Andreas fault, but they found later that it started on the San Jacinto fault. So that's when I think they started investigating things. Now here is pretty much saying the same thing I've already told you. It's just a different article, but it goes on to explain about how it's ripe and also about the stress of the tectonic tremors. And I thought I took that one away actually, but it's still there. I don't know what that's about. And now this one is about the fact that they jump 50-kilometer distance between the faults. And that makes it an order of magnitude larger than what was considered possible for an earthquake to jump. This is essentially a long jump world record. They were talking about how they found out that these can jump that far. And what they say is earthquakes jumping longer distances could have consequences for faults in many places around the world, such as Southern California, where the San Andreas lies within 50 kilometers or 31 miles of many faults running through those populated areas. Now, they also talk about doublets. They say doublets tend to increase the duration of ground shaking as well as increase the area affected by those events. And these events can produce more devastation over a larger area than a single event. doublets are where the quake starts out in one place and it gets part of the quake gets stuck somewhere, say a bend or something in the fault, and one part of the quake ends up at a location in one time, and then a few seconds later, the other part of the earthquake comes over there, and it doesn't end up in the exact same place, but close to the same location, just a few seconds apart, or even a minute apart. They've said even years apart, but I don't know about that. I mean, some of the stuff that they say, I'm not quite sure I believe all of it. Like I read that aftershocks can go on 30, 40 years. I don't know. I mean, I've even heard other channels question that too. Um, it's kind of like the percentages thing that they talk about. You know, um, I'll go there in just a second. I just want to wrap this up because I want to wrap this up for you guys. That was actually the last thing that we already talked about the spontaneous tremors. Well, this just says that it's a type of slow quake becoming more frequently detected along plate boundaries, particularly in subduction zones, and also along the San Andreas Fault. So, wow, yeah, we detect multiple discrete spontaneous tremor events in the Anza Gap of the San Jacinto Fault. I don't think most of you knew that there were slow slips going on there. I was surprised to find out when I started researching this, especially when I saw all those quakes. I had to look that up. But anyways, I'm going to go to Google Earth and show you something real quick because I think it's pretty interesting. Where did I put Google Earth? There it is. Okay. They have the faults here, which is really nice. If you click on the faults, here's the San Jacinto. I put that in. I put all these locations in and everything. If you click this on, gotta wait for the little arrow. Tells you that it's the San Jacinto Fault, the Anza section, and then it gives information about the type of fault and some other things. And if you click on this little link here, it'll take you to a page that gives you a bunch more information. I don't want to go there because it takes a couple seconds to get back. And the way I do things, I'll close everything out and have to start all over, and I'm not doing that. I know me way too well. Now, something that I just wanted to show you here. Here's the San Jacinto, and here's the Anza Gap from Anza. It actually starts at Hemet and goes down to Borrego Springs, and this is 25 miles. Some articles said it was 13, but that's not right. Almost all of the other articles, science papers and stuff, said it's 25 miles. Over here, whoops, we have the San Andreas Fault, and it tells us that it's the Coachella section over here, and more information. So this is pretty cool. But what I wanted to show you was, if we take this ruler and say here's Anza, we'll go right about, right here, because Anza's right in the middle between Hemet and Borrego Springs, so it's a good place. If you go here and you pull the, whoops, there we go. In the long version, it's 27, a little over 27 miles. So that's still within 31 miles at this area. Again, it changes and goes to a mile and a half somewhere in the San Jacinto and the San Andreas, and it may be up here. Let's see what we get there. Well, there's the San Jacinto. Okay, go away. Let's see what we have here. See all these faults. That's that's an area to talk about. That's another video for me. Well, San Jacinto's over here. It must be over here then. Anyways, you get the idea that it does come to a mile and a half. Wow, that's even further distance, and you can actually look that up because I did check that out. I wanted to know what the distance was between the San Jacinto and the San Andreas, and it's at its narrowest that it's a mile and a half between the two, somewhere in there. So yeah, you get that idea. Anyways, the last thing I want to do is give you a couple minutes of talk about earthquake insurance. Most of you probably don't have it because you've heard or found that it's expensive. Well, I'm a person that believes in insurance. I rent an apartment and I have renter's insurance, and just like you, no money tree. But anyways, I did some research and found that there's a website for insurance called valuepenguin.com. and they can start a policy as low as $3.74 a month. Now, you definitely want to have, if you're displaced from your home because of fire that has taken away your home, or the quake itself, and let me tell you, there will be fires. There will be many, many fires. And with you guys being in a drought and having problems with water, you guys are going to have serious problems. So if you need to go to a hotel to stay, they will pay towards your hotel just like they do with rental cars for rental insurance. And of course, you want certain of your belongings because you would have to start all over again. So if you give up something like a Big Mac, oh, I love Big Macs. Probably shouldn't have thought about that. Anyways, if you give up something like that, you can afford, some insurance, at least some, and they sell different types of insurance, but much, much better rate. Something to think about. The people that just went through Hurricane Ian, most of those people in Florida did not have flood insurance, and they are up a creek without a paddle. They have no money to start over like you'd need. I mean, anyways, just something to think about. And I'll leave the link for that for you guys so you can check it out on your own. That's about it. Uh, Anything that you want to say to me, please leave a comment in the comment section. And that's about it. You guys have a great night, afternoon, morning, whatever it is. And until then, bye bye.